Okay, students, welcome back. So, today we are going to cover one of the most essential parts of our everyday diet. What do you drink mostly every day?
Water.
Water, exactly. So, water is one of the most important parts of our diet. And so, when you ask mommy for water, usually it is this liquid form of water, right? So usually you get a glass which is of a liquid form of water. So let me write that down. Is This is a liquid
Liquid
form
from
of water.
water.
So liquid is one of the phases of water. This is one of the phases of water. Now let me give you an example. When you go to a restaurant, right, on a hot sunny day, the server asks you, do you want your water with ice or without ice? And what do you usually say?
With ice.
With ice, exactly. So the server puts some ice cubes, right? These are ice cubes, and gives you the water with ice cubes in it. So these ice cubes here are the solid form of water. So these ice cubes are nothing but water, but it's a solid form of water. So let me write that down. This is the solid form of water. So now we've covered two phases. One is the liquid phase and one is the
The
solid
solid
phase of
phase.
water. And so we're also going to cover how water goes from one phase to another. So as you know that when you have these ice cubes in the water and you are in the restaurant, after some time all those ice cubes melt into water, correct?
Yes.
So what happens there is that because of the heat, it's a hot sunny day,
Yeah.
so because of the heat all those ice cubes melt into water. So this process of solid changing to liquid requires heat,
Heat.
and the heat symbol
Is
is
a
usually a
triangle.
triangle below the arrow or above the arrow. And what that means is essentially it's, I'm going to show a mini sun here. Okay, mini sun, heat. So as heat is provided, the solid goes to a liquid form, right? Now, if it's a really hot sunny day and you are on the outside patio of the restaurant, then this water will now get converted into water vapor, right? So, water vapor is also called steam.
Steam.
So,
And steam is the water vapor is known as the gas form.
that's correct. So, this is water vapor, also known as steam. So, water vapor, also known as steam. And this steam, what phase of water is it?
Gas.
It's the gas phase of water. That's correct. So, this is the gas phase of water. So, now we've got three phases of water. One is the solid phase of water, right? One is second is the liquid phase of water, and third is the gas phase of water. So now between these three phases of water, as you can see, the liquid also gets heated up, and that the triangle is the symbol, and we can show a mini sun to show that it's heating up. This is an observation of water changing from solid to liquid and to gas that happens even on Mount Everest. So Mount Everest, as you know, is one of the, or rather the tallest mountain, and essentially it has a lot of ice cubes on it, right? It's in the Himalayas. It has a lot of ice cubes there. All those are ice cubes, right? Huge boulders of ice. Now, when it gets heated up, what happens is with the heat, some of that ice melts into water, and that water comes out as rivers, right? So you have freshwater rivers. And then when those rivers get heated up, the water gets converted into water vapor, which goes and forms clouds, right? So this is the way that even huge boulders of ice get converted to water, and then the water gets converted to water vapor and to clouds. So now we're going to demonstrate how this happens and why this happens. So if we take a container with ice cubes in it, right? So I'm going to put 6 ice cubes in here. And when we put ice cubes in there, and we have a little fire going below that, right? Which is like a small sun here, right? Ice cubes going. This is these ice cubes are going to melt. Correct. So with the heat, what happens is there's melting that's happening. And what you will see as it melts is that you will see in this container there will be water. Now, instead of the ice cubes, what you see is water.
The liquid form.
The liquid form. Exactly. So the ice cubes have not turned into water. And then, if even more heat is applied, then what happens is that you see that some of that water will be there, but the top part of the water will start evaporating, right?
Yes. What do you see come out is steam.
It's steam, exactly. So it is
water-
steam.
Water
So now you have the three forms of water going on here. That is, you have the solid form of water, which is this ice cubes, right? This is the solid form. And so let's write that down here. This is your solid form, right? The solid phase is the ice cubes. This is your liquid form, which is the water. And this is your gaseous form, which is the steam, right? So we got the solid, we got the liquid, we got the gas form. Now, how does this happen? So as you look deeply inside each of these ice cubes, what you will notice, like let's see those ice cubes. So if I have a magnification glass and I look deeply into that ice cubes, what do I see?
molecules.
Exactly. So I see a lot of molecules, and I see those molecules
have
have
strong bonds.
strong bonds between them. The bonds are very strong between these molecules, and the bonds are so strong that we cannot put a finger through an ice cube. You cannot put a finger through an ice cube, right?
Yes, we cannot.
Yeah, because it's basically the bonds are very strong. So these are bonds, and they are very strong.
But then we become weak.
So these are, yeah, and we'll get to that, how the bonds become weak. So these are strong bonds, right?
Yeah.
So very strong bonds in a solid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now when we get to a liquid, what happens is those bonds become weaker, right?
Yes.
So if we look inside a liquid and we are looking at the liquid and the water inside the liquid, and we're looking at those molecules, now they are far apart from each other.
And the bonds
so
are
the
weaker.
bonds are weaker, right?
Very weak.
And the bonds are weak, right?
Yes.
And the bonds are much weaker, right? And so these are weaker bonds. So the bonds, they're still bonds, but now they're are weaker. So you have very weak bonds, and they being weak, right? Now you're able to put your hand through a liquid, correct? But now when there's more heat applied, what do you think that happens?
It turns into gas.
Gas. So some of
then
those
the
molecules,
bonds are very weak.
the bonds are very weak, and some of those molecules simply escape, right?
They break apart from the chain
they
of
break
molecules.
apart. You got it. They break apart and they start flying away, right? So now
they come. And the molecules you see come in the form of gas, of steam.
That's correct. So what you've now noticed, perfect. And what you've now noticed is that now the bonds are the weakest. The bonds are the weakest, right? So they are weak, they are weaker, and they are weakest. So you have strong bonds, and then you have weak bonds, and then you have the weakest bonds in the gas state, right? So that is how we see the three phases of water: solid, liquid, and gas. And the conversion happens because the bonds separate from each other due to the heat. As we apply heat, the bonds are broken. They become weaker. So now let's do a little small experiment, practical experiment demonstrating how this happens. Like we'll take some ice cubes in a kettle of or rather a container, and then we will apply a small fire. We will see how the bonds break and it becomes water. Then we'll apply more heat, and as we apply more heat we'll see the bonds getting more weaker and some of those molecules escaping into the air as water vapor, which is also called steam.